shall go on to the end. We shall never surrender.
So, Christopher, did you set out to make a historic film in a different way, with a different time approach, or did you set out to do a film about time set in a historic setting?
That's hard to answer. I think it's sort of both things at the same time. I try to not let the style of a piece or the structure of a piece and the substance be different. I try and look at it, what fascinates me about the story as a whole, and the simplicity of the Dunkirk story and the importance of it was what drew me to the project originally, because it's something that hasn't been told in modern cinema that needs to be.
The call went out. We have to go to Dunkirk. Ready on the stern line.
What are you doing? You know where we're going.
Into war, George.
I'll be useful, sir.
Very early on, I realized I didn't want to tell a conventional historical epic. What I wanted to do was strip it down and make a very experiential film. I wanted to make a very subjectively told film. And that meant that it had to deal with people's sense of time, because you have one set of characters who's experiencing about a week of a contrast between absolute intensity and sheer boredom, not knowing what's going to happen. And then you've got that contrasting with a Spitfire pilot who's in the cockpit of a plane up above the events, and he's got about an hour of flying time that's extremely intense, and a time scale that's going to really expand and feel very, very long.
One of ours. He's on me.
I'm on him.
So how was it working with historic material compared to your previous films, where you've been able to build unique worlds from the ground?
I found it very energizing to change my creative process. Normally, when you're building a fictional world, you do a lot of thinking about the overall scheme of things and the world of things, and then your characters guide you through it. With Dunkirk, that world already exists. It's the real world of 1940. It's the events, and what I had to do was a lot of research, a lot of reading of first-hand accounts, really get an impression of a feeling for those events, and then create fictional characters to guide me and take the audience through those events.
They need to send more ships. Every hour the enemy pushes closer. They've activated the civilian boats.
Civilians? We need destroyers.
Where are we going?
Dunkirk.
Nature as an element is always the wild card in your creative process. I've always tried to embrace it and shoot whatever seems appropriate on the days, you know, with the weather. Sometimes when the weather is at its worst and it's its most difficult to work in, the visual results are the most spectacular, and that was certainly the case in this film. Shooting on the real beach, you get a sense of history. You don't have to worry about achieving a sense of reality, because you know you're actually in the real place. So then you're free to be expressive in the way you shoot the film. Indeed, during the evacuation with the real little ships who'd been there in 1940, they came back and recreated their journey for us. And so then you're free as a creator to shoot things in the way that seems most expressive.
The ship's about to leave.
Down you go! Doing this film, did it make you research your own family history?
I did. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about my grandfather, who was a navigator on a Lancaster bomber and died during the war. And he's buried in France in a military grave. And I took my kids to go and visit where he's buried. And I think dealing with real life events that affect so many of us, have family connections with it and so forth, it really makes you think about things in a very different way. It's a very different form of creative endeavor, and you feel a real responsibility to the people who've been affected by these events.
Turn it around!
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender.
Where's the bloody Air Force?